Everyone thinks Halloween trick-or-treating is harmless. But what if the house you knock on isn't safe? What if behind the door is something waiting to take you instead of giving candy? These are true chilling tales of trick-or-treat gone horribly wrong. Watch if you dare.
On Halloween night, 12-year-old Emily and her best friend Katie ventured out for candy in their quiet suburban neighborhood. Both wore vampire costumes, capes trailing across the sidewalk as they laughed and darted from house to house. Their parents allowed them to trick-or-treat alone this year, thinking the neighborhood was safe. Everything felt normal until they reached the end of Pinewood Lane, where a single old house stood, isolated, its windows dark and jack-o'-lantern unlit. The girls hesitated. Every other house glowed with decorations, but this one seemed abandoned. Yet, a small handwritten sign was taped to the door, "Candy inside, don't be shy." Emily was eager, but Katie's instincts screamed no. Against her better judgment, Emily knocked. Slowly, the door creaked open. The air inside reeked of mildew. A dim hallway stretched forward with bowls of candy sitting on a table halfway in. Emily stepped inside, ignoring Katie's warnings. The candy looked untouched, strange for a Halloween night. As she reached out, the floorboards groaned. Katie stayed at the door, shifting nervously. Suddenly, the hallway light flickered, revealing shadows moving along the walls though no one else was there. Before Katie could scream, the door slammed shut, trapping Emily inside. She pounded on it, but it wouldn't budge. Katie's terrified voice echoed outside, but she couldn't hear Emily anymore. Inside, Emily turned to see a tall figure emerge from the shadows, a man in a plague doctor mask, holding an empty trick-or-treat bag. His voice was hollow as he whispered, "You knocked. Now you belong here." Emily's scream was the last sound Katie ever heard from inside Pinewood Lane. The next day, the house stood empty, no sign of candy, no bowls, no plague doctor mask. Just silence. Emily was never found. Ryan and Jacob were brothers, only 2 years apart, but endlessly competitive. On Halloween night, they set out to prove who could collect more candy. The streets of their small town buzzed with kids in costumes, parents trailing behind with flashlights, and the glowing faces of jack-o'-lanterns lighting every porch. "Bet I'll fill my bag before you," Ryan grinned through his plastic werewolf mask. Jacob, dressed as a Grim Reaper, rolled his eyes. "You always say that, and you always lose." The night passed in a whirl of laughter and candy. But as they reached the edge of the neighborhood, the houses thinned out, and the trees loomed darker. A strange orange glow flickered between the branches in the woods. "See that?" Ryan whispered. "Yeah," Jacob muttered. "We're not going in there." But Ryan smirked. "Come on, maybe it's a shortcut, or some guy with epic decorations. We'll be the only ones with his candy." Reluctantly, Jacob followed his brother. Their sneakers crunched against fallen leaves as the glow grew stronger. Finally, they stumbled into a small clearing where a shack sat crookedly, its roof sagging and walls splintered. But what struck them most were the dozens of jack-o'-lanterns surrounding it. Each one was carved differently, faces twisted into grotesque grins, eyes too wide, mouths stretched unnaturally. A chill ran through Jacob. This doesn't feel right, Ryan. Let's go back. Before Ryan could reply, the shack's door creaked open, and a figure stepped outside. He was tall, draped in tattered overalls, his face hidden behind a massive pumpkin mask carved with jagged teeth. The eyes of the pumpkin glowed faintly, pulsing like fire. "Trick or treat, boys?" the man asked cheerfully, his voice muffled and raspy under the mask. Ryan forced a laugh. Yeah. Trick or treat." The pumpkin man held out a bowl. Inside were round, sticky candies coated in a shiny red glaze. They glistened under the glow of the pumpkins. "Don't be shy," the pumpkin man said. "Sweet treats for sweet souls." Jacob's stomach turned. Something about the smell was wrong, like iron, sharp and metallic. "Ryan, don't," he whispered. But Ryan, too stubborn to back down, grabbed one and popped it in his mouth. His face twisted instantly. He spat it out, coughing, his lips smeared with red. "What the hell? It tastes like blood." The pumpkin man tilted his head slowly. "Waste not, want not," he murmured. The jack-o'-lanterns around them flickered brighter, as if they were alive, their carved mouths moving faintly in sync with the pumpkin man's words. The streets of Willow Creek buzzed with excitement on Halloween night. Zoe, Marcus, and Daniel had been friends since kindergarten, and this year, they were old enough to trick-or-treat without parents. Their bags were already half full, and they compared candy at every stop. "Look at this haul," Marcus bragged, shaking his bag. "Dude, Zoe's winning," Daniel said. "She's got like double." Zoe smirked. "Told you, I know the best routes. And I'm not done yet." As the night grew later, they reached the very end of Cedar Street. There, at the edge of the neighborhood, sat a house they didn't recognize. Unlike the cheerful decorations of the others, this one was dark and eerie. A single lantern burned on the porch, its flame weak and flickering. A sign hung on the front step in shaky handwriting, "Knock once. Only once." The kids exchanged nervous glances. Marcus laughed. "Bet it's just some old lady being weird." Daniel frowned. "Or some prank. I don't like this." But Zoe, always the daring one, marched up the steps. "What's the worst that could happen?" She knocked once. The door creaked open, revealing an elderly woman in a faded black dress. Her eyes were sunken but kind, and she smiled faintly as she held out a bowl of candy. "Trick or treat," she said softly. She gave each of them a piece and added, "Remember, never knock twice." The kids nodded, chuckling nervously as they stepped off the porch. But Zoe wasn't satisfied. "That's it. One piece. No way. Watch this." She marched back and knocked twice on the door. Immediately, the porch light flickered out. The warm glow of the lantern sputtered and died. The street fell silent, no distant laughter, no crunch of leaves, just dead quiet. "Zoe," Marcus whispered, his voice shaking. The door swung open again, but the old woman was gone. In her place stood a figure, tall, shadowy, faceless. Its body seemed to shift like smoke, stretching unnaturally to fit the doorway. Zoe froze, her bag slipping from her hands. The candy inside the boys' bags transformed instantly into rotting worms, shards of bone, and broken teeth, spilling onto the ground. The smell of decay filled the air. The shadow stepped forward, its long, skeletal fingers reaching. Their flashlights flickered and died, plunging everything into darkness. "Run!" Daniel screamed.